Hey, welcome in. My name is Jocelyn. I am a mom of three. I'm super excited you're here. I'm basically have been asked a few times from various people to share my birth stories with you. Okay, so as you can see, I have my youngest sleeping there on the bed. Apologies in advance if I have to get up and grab her. I want you to know that if you are a new mom watching this or a mom to be, you don't have to be afraid of anything I'm going to share going forward on this video, because I believe strongly in positive birth, empowered birth, and my three births, and like I said, I'm a mom of three, were extremely different, but I'm going to share some information with you that might affect in a positive way your birth going forward, or just give you maybe some tools or guidance or inspiration. Okay, so hopefully it lands well with you, but I want you to know that it's not anything that's going to scare you or be negative in hopefully any way at all. Okay, so I have three kids, like I just mentioned. Macaulay will be 6 in May. I had him when just before I turned 26. I was natural health minded. I had super long dreadlocks and had been traveling for 6 years. I was really looking for a natural birth atmosphere. I was looking for a safe birth, an empowered birth, but at the same time, I didn't know a lot about safe natural childbirth, right? And I didn't know a lot about different tools and things like that that I was actually searching for at that specific time. So I didn't know those things, and I was actually asking my circle of friends and things like that for I was like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be tools available and things like that. But no one had any answers for me. So I'm going to connect the end of my story to this in a bit here. So anyway, I was working with a midwife. I was living in a really small town called Caslow, BC. It's a small town in the West Kootenays, a really, really small town. It's about an hour away from Nelson, BC. And so it's a cool town, but there's not a lot of resources. There's not even a hospital or anything like that. So I was planning a home birth. I had a midwife. It was an interesting, relatively super healthy pregnancy. Everything was fine. I was super active. First pregnancy as it is, and then I had some difficult times with the fathers of my baby, and it was really, really a stressful time, really stressful areas of the pregnancy. We had, I didn't actually know him very well. I conceived Macaulay a month after knowing him. So that caused a lot of havoc on our relationship, because as you know, when you are pregnant, you are just getting to know yourself as a pregnant woman, right? And getting to know your body again, and all your hormones and all the things that come along with pregnancy. So that was really difficult, getting to know another person at the same time. Anyway, long story short, towards, I had, I think, 1 or 2 ultrasounds that pregnancy, and baby's positioning looked fine, right? But towards the end of the pregnancy, the baby flipped because I had some really intense stress go on with the father, and the baby ended up flipping. And so I intuitively felt that, and I intuitively felt, this feels like a head up here, So I take from this, if you are someone who's watching this who's pregnant, follow your intuition, okay? Follow your intuition hard. I was sure it was like a hard head in my ribs, and we talked about getting an ultrasound again, and at the time the midwife was like, oh no, it's fine. We don't really, it's fine. And I should have said, no, I want to get it checked just to see where the positioning is, okay? And so, long story short, labor kind of slowly started around 41 weeks, and but he wasn't engaging because he was breech, and we didn't know, right? We didn't know. Intuitively, I felt something was off, okay? So he wasn't engaging. It was that kind of annoying few days of resting labor, And then it was, I think, day 3 or 4 where my midwife was like, I think I feel a bum. And I was like, oh, okay, well, here we go. Right. And so with him, it was, she's like, I'm not comfortable delivering breech at home. And so it was a hospital transfer. We got an ambulance to come, and it was an intense hour ride to the hospital for sure. But luckily, you know, this is another factor. I don't want this to be negative at all. I learned so much, and I hope that me sharing this with you, and you hopefully sharing this, you know, shout it from the rooftops like I'm going to do and have been doing. Hopefully we can help tons of women to realize their full, you know, their full abilities, and empower them with this knowledge and tools too. So, you know, I agreed to transfer to the hospital because there was a doctor there that advocated for natural breech delivery. So I was, you know, super lucky, but also it took me to stand in my power and say, no, like I am, you know, my body is made for birth. Even if my baby is breech, I still have the ability to deliver my baby, right, or birth my baby, right? So anyway, we transferred to the hospital, and it was a rough ride in the ambulance, but it is what it is. And we got there, and it was basically like, there's all the precautions, right? As soon as you enter the medical or the hospital doors, you have all these like, just in case we're going to do this or whatever. So they were like, just in case, we're going to put an epidural in place in case delivery, you know, in case something happens and we have to emergency C-section and da 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 da. Okay, so I was like, okay, fine, put an epidural in place. I actually hadn't slept for a few days, so they put an epidural in place, and it actually like caused me or allowed me to sleep like a solid for like a couple hours. So that was crazy. I am somebody who really likes to feel my body and be like solid in my body. So having that in place really disrupted my whole flow, but it saved, you know, it allowed me to rest to deliver my baby naturally. Okay, even breech. Okay, so once I was, you know, they gave me a time, like, we're going to deliver in the operating room just in case, da 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 da. And like, okay, fine. So we go into the operating room, and they said, okay, we're giving you 1 hour to deliver your baby, or to birth your baby. And if it doesn't happen in an hour, then we're gonna do a section. And I was like, all right, I got this. And so I got up on the chair thing, the table thing that you're supposed to be laying on, and I was like, I'm not, there's no way I'm laying down, right? So I was all over the place. And the clock was right in front of me, I remember, and I was like, when I mean business, I mean business. So I did it. He came out a little floppy, but he was totally bum first, and he was frank breech, so he was folded. And so unfortunately, you know, the whole thing of my waters were broken a little bit too long for their liking, so he was administered antibiotics at birth, which I really don't like either, but it was all precautionary. Okay, so that was Macaulay. He's an incredible little guy. He was 8 pounds, 11 ounces. I don't remember his length right now, but he was pretty, like, I'm pretty tall, and the father's pretty tall. And yeah, so we ended up staying in the hospital for, I think it was 1 night, just to keep an eye on him, to make sure everything was functioning how it should be and all the things. And so then we went home, and he was totally fine. So that's a vaginal breech delivery in a hospital setting. And I don't see it as a negative thing. I see it as an insane learning experience and an opportunity to learn and grow from that experience. Okay, so I will connect again with parts of that story in a second here again. But the second birth was Sequoia. So Sequoia is 23 months younger than Macaulay. And so after Macaulay's birth, I had some rocky times with the dad, and we separated, we got back together and things like that. We went to counseling. We tried to like save the relationship that we never had. And so, yeah, counseling happened and we got back together and I conceived Sequoia. Okay, so it was a little bit of a tricky situation. So right after I conceived Sequoia, he had happened to be doing like shift work out of town. And I ended up, making the decision like, listen, it's not working out. As soon as I got conceived Sequoia, I'm like, here we go again. But this time I'm choosing to do it on my own. You can be involved if you want to, but I'm going to choose to do it on my own because what happened with Macaui's, his birth and him shifting, I was like, I'm not having another breech baby. So with Sequoia, again, it was an amazing, I'm super blessed and grateful that my body is so strong and able to have such a gentle pregnancy in reality. So I work from home. I started a small business when Macaui was, I don't say it was about a year. I started a business, and it's actually, this is part that ties into what I've been talking about. It's actually teaching people, specifically families and moms, and specifically new moms, on how to use essential oils, pure essential oils, not all oils are pure, how to use pure essential oils to support various aspects of motherhood or health and wellness, emotional wellness. So this all kind of ties in extremely well together because I say, like, if I would have had these tools on Macaui, was when I was pregnant with Macaui, I could have potentially avoided a breech delivery by using my oils. Okay, so potentially, I don't know 100% that they would have helped to shift him because of his size, but who knows, right? There's always a potential. Okay, so I started a small business when Macaui was about 1 with my essential oils, and I, as a single mom, was able to grow that business alongside being a full-time mom, nap times, bedtimes, things like that. And then with Sequoia, I continued to build my business at home while she was napping and Macaui was napping. It was a full-on time, but I am like eternally grateful for that ability to teach people about these oils and to be able to empower people with these tools. Okay, so anyway, Sequoia's birth basically was actually really nourishing for myself. Actually, it was another hospital birth, but due to the circumstances of my situation as a single mom, I was living in high security buildings, not by choice. It was just what was available in the town I was living in. It was a low income government subsidized housing that I'm grateful exists for sure, but it's not where I wanted to birth my baby. So I decided to work with my family doctor to birth at the hospital that was, probably about a 3 or 5 minute walk from my house. So when I started to, see the symptoms happening or the signs that labor was progressing or beginning, I let my doula know. I had a doula. I should have said in the first, with Macaui's birth too, I had a friend / doula from Nelson join me for the birth. And same with Sequoia, I had the same doula. And she, I called her up and was like, hey, it's happening. It's the morning. I'll let you know how we progress throughout the day kind of thing. She's like, yeah, totally. Take it easy. Because she was, she was kind of accustomed to Macaui's birth and how it took a little while to progress. So with Sequoia's, that morning, I was like, well, are you sure? Like, you're a 3-hour drive away. I think you should kind of come around lunchtime just to be safe. And anyway, she was busy that day, and so she didn't end up coming until later in the evening. But that whole day kind of progressed. It was actually a funny situation. My grandparents were in town, but they ended up they were sick with the flu, and then they gave my mom the flu, and my mom was supposed to come and be with Macaui at the house. Well, I went to the hospital with my doula, and then, it was like bedtime for Macaui, and I still didn't have a plan of what I was going to do because my mom had the flu. My doula didn't make it from Nelson yet. She was on the way, but didn't make it yet. And so I was there like, okay, I'm going to birth my baby, and I've got a toddler at home. What am I supposed to do? And so I ended up that I just called one of my friends. She was out of town, but her sister was in town. And so I said, okay, sister, come over here. and this sister came and stayed with McCowie. I didn't really know her very well, and it was her first, I think, one of her first birth experiences. She didn't have kids. And so it was a little bit of a crazy time probably for her, witnessing me like in full blown, full on labor. Rocking it, but still it's an intense time, it kind of could be awkward a little bit. But so she was there with McCowie, and then I from there it was about, I was timing tightenings around like 10 p.m. So I put McCowie to bed, and we're just kind of riding the waves, and it was like 9, 10 p.m. I called the hospital just to let them know that I was going to be coming in. I let them know that, my doctor and things like that, and it was a small town, so they kind of knew the situation or knew of me, or like knew of me through my doctor kind of thing. And so that's kind of like the progression up to there. And then once I was timing tightenings, I told them on the phone, I was like, listen, I'm going to come in when I'm 3 minutes apart, and then and deliver my baby. So I think something to take from this is a little gentle reminder that you are in charge, right? You as a mom, as a woman about to birth her baby, you are in charge, right? You say how it is. Okay, so I said, I'm going to come in at 3 minutes apart. I'm going to birth my baby in the hospital. And they were like, okay, we'll see you in a little while. And so, I just hung out at home, riding the waves, hanging out, timing tightenings. And then I still didn't know who was going to meet me at the hospital. I don't recommend going alone. I always feel like having someone there that knows your birth plan, that knows that knows what you want and can be a voice along with you is a really good plan. So whether that be a doula or a close family member or your partner, but remember at this time I was a single mom with these guys. And so I specifically had told the father to, like, please do not contact me until after the birth when I contact you, because I cannot have another breech baby. Like, that wasn't very, it wasn't very fun, like, to be real. So yeah, I didn't know what I was going to do until it was about like 11 o'clock or something. And I decided, I was like, okay, well, I don't have any options. My doula's not here yet. She's still on the road, but it was April, and I think the roads were a little bit rough in the winter in Canada. And so then I called my mom and was like, listen, I don't have any other options. Can you just meet me at the hospital? And so she was feeling a little better, and she drove over to the hospital. I was like, I'll meet you there. So I walked from my house. Like I said, it was like a 3 or 5 minute walk. It's actually quite nice. The big moon, walked to the hospital, met my mom just right near to the hospital. Because if you have ever been in labor or just about to birth your baby, you know that for me, I don't want to sit down. I don't want to sit still. I can't lay down. Like, no way, not a chance. So walking was actually really beneficial for me, and just to get out of my too much in my head, or just get some fresh air. So anyway, met my mom at the hospital. We turned on the diffuser, we got some oils on, put some nice relaxing oils on, and then put some oil called Deep Blue and like frankincense on the back, because there's just a little bit of back labor and things like that. And so the progression was really, really steady. Sequoia was born at 3:37 in the morning. We arrived at the hospital around midnight-ish, and it's such a small hospital. It was actually really nice. I know, like, most of the girls that were on duty for nurses already knew who I was and already used oils and things like that. So it was really actually quite nice. We were back home around 10 a.m. the next morning. So it was cool. It was really kind of peaceful. And so that was Sequoia's journey. I chose a hospital birth because of my situation. Okay, so I was like still at various parts of the hospital birth, and again, this is a reminder to be in your zone, know what you want, have your birth plan written out, have that like discussion with your doctor, like, this is what we're doing, unless this. right? Unless this is severely, like someone's life is critically in danger, then we'll stray, we'll stray from this plan, but this is what I want. So she knew about the delayed cord clamping. She knew about all these things. And I just had to be stern with her a couple times in the delivery room, because there were times, it was the middle of the night, she wanted to go home, she was probably really tired, and there were times where she wanted to cut the cord, and I was like, don't touch, like hands off, we got this, okay? So there's that, okay? So be stern in your, be solid in what you want and stick to it, right? Because you deserve that, and you can say that. Okay, so number 3, third birth, Azalea here. She is currently, where are we? She is like 3 weeks, almost 3 weeks old, I think. As you might know already, we live in Costa Rica. So how did we get here? Long story short, Sequoia was about 2, Natalia was 4. And my business, like I mentioned, these pretty little bottles of essential oils, I have continued to share them and continued to talk crazy about essential oils to everyone I knew, just from that place of service and solid, I know these little bottles work and I want to help you, right? I kept sharing them and kept talking about them. And in September of 2019, my business was at a place where all our financial needs were taken care of. Me as a single mom was able to fully support us. And my business was at a place where I was like, well, where do we want to go? Let's get out of the snow. And so originally we came to Costa Rica just to escape the winter in 2019. And we came to a small beach town where I knew a friend, and it was awesome. And we had planned to be in Europe the spring of 2020, and then the pandemic hit. And I met a guy I'm a Gemini, and he's a Gemini, and we're just like yin and yang that fits so well together. I've never met another human that I connect so well with. It's crazy. Anyway, I met him, and then the pandemic hit, and we just had some easy choices to make where I was like, well, why not just hang out here, right? So here we are 2021 now, over a year and a half, almost a year and a half later of being in Costa Rica. Basically, the birth of Azalea is, I conceived unexpectedly, as with all my pregnancies, and pretty much everything in my life is pretty unexpected, but that's okay, it always works out. But I conceived her, and when we were still in that small beach town, I was like, well, I don't know if I want to give birth here, because again, our housing situation is a beautiful house. We had a pool and it was really nice, but our neighbor was right next door, and our landlord was right next door, and he'd always come over. He was the guy who cleaned the pool and all the things. And I was like, I don't feel in my zone here. I don't feel in my, this is my space. There's always people in this space. So beyond that, the medical system in that town wasn't if anything was to happen and we needed some external help, I would have had to transfer and to have that ambulance ride again, that hour ride on a very, very windy Costa Rican road. And that was not something I was interested in. And I was looking to relocate to a different town anyway, because for various reasons, I didn't want to hang out in that town anymore. I had felt like, I spent a year there, time to move on and time to expand and explore, right, this beautiful country. So we ended up just looking around for places to birth the baby, to be honest, something that was closer to a hospital if we needed any support, and somewhere where it was just in our own zone and felt like a safe space for me to birth. And so we found this place. It's kind of up in the jungle. That's where we are now. It's up in the jungle. It's a lot cooler. If you've been to Costa Rica, the beach is a solid 30, 35, 38 degrees. Solid, always. Okay, there's not much variance, and it's very, very humid, and it's uncomfortable. And you guys know, if you're pregnant, it's not a nice time unless you're hanging out in the pool the whole time. Okay, so up here in the jungle, the average temperature is it can vary from can even get to 16 degrees at nighttime, which is super cool. Hence why we have a big blanket on our bed. But in the daytime, it's comfortable 20, 25, like maybe gets towards 30 sometimes, but it's very cool. Okay, so that was a fun thing that I also wanted to look for. So with this birth, when I moved up here, I started exploring around the area just through various online groups and on Facebook and things to try to find a midwife to partner with. So I ended up finding one near the big city, near San Jose, and we had talked about maybe potentially just renting a birth house. So you can do this where if your house isn't like perfect for birth, you can rent like another house for a month or so. But I didn't like that having to like move and then move again right after baby. And I was like, oh, that's not what I want. And also, I don't like that like trying to predict when your baby's going to come is really tricky and it puts extra pressure on you and your baby, right? So anyway, we ended up finding this place up in the jungle. It's very secluded, very far away from most things. But after you get down on our like crazy driveway, we are really, really secluded here. And so the big thing was being closer to a hospital. If we needed to be we could be at the hospital in 10 minutes from here. Even though we have no neighbors, we are on 10 acres of like pretty much like raw jungle. It's pretty cool, and like actually the temperature is really nice as well. So there's that. And then I found a midwife through a Facebook group that lives not far from here. Her house is like 20, 30 minutes away. So that's amazing. And so I met with her. She happens to be from the US. And here living in Costa Rica, I mean, my Spanish is okay, but I can't really speak technical terms, right? And so there's that. I didn't want to birth in a hospital because the language barrier. Number two is COVID. The pandemic here in Costa Rica, the rules are that your significant other cannot come into the room with you. You cannot have anyone else with you. Okay. There is something like I think if you're at a private hospital, you can have them in the room during like babies coming out, but for the labor and for transition and things like that, you're alone. And so I was like, hard no, like that's not what I want to do. So I met this midwife from the US. She's lovely, super, super traditional midwife, which is interesting. So if you are someone who's pregnant and looking into a midwife to support you, there's that to remember too. Is traditional is very hands off, very trusting in the woman's body, very instinctual and super, super natural, very hands off. Okay, so there's different degrees of midwifery. There's registered midwives who do have have to do certain protocols and things like that. So with Azilea's birth, traditional midwife, it was very, very an intuitive, hands-off birth, which is something that I really wanted. And I think part of the reason that it was that is because of my knowledge and my self-education and of my personal experience as well, and that deep knowingness and trusting in my body. So with Azalea, she was about 38 weeks. Like I kind of intuitively felt, I was like, I feel like she's gonna come early. And so planting that seed, I don't know if it did anything, but my waters ruptured around 38 weeks. And so, in my head, I was like, as long as we make it past 37, so that, we won't have any breathing, hopefully won't have any breathing problems, don't have to transfer to a hospital, she'll be strong, like all the things. I make strong babies, like those affirmations are super important as well. But around 38 weeks, my waters ruptured. Just before then, I was starting to practice my hypnobirthing again. I forgot to mention that before, but that's something that I really recommend too, is those affirmations. Putting them in your ears. Just starting to reprogram maybe any stories or any fears that you might have that come up during birth, because all of the things that you believe are going to come up, and any of those fears are going to hold you back. So I'm not perfect by any means. I had them come up, even with my things in my ears, right? So I started listening to hypnobirthing and started to train myself again to trust, to literally lean into trusting my body, releasing control. And, I completely trust that my body knows how to birth my baby safely. So a lot of births in my perspective, is getting out of your own way and allowing your body to do what it's meant to do, just releasing control and listening intuitively to what your body needs you to do. So waters ruptured around 38 weeks. It was a Sunday night. I was actually just laying in bed with my 2 older kids, putting them to bed, and then I just lay on the end of their bed, kind of just holding them type of thing. And yeah, waters ruptured, which was interesting. And I messaged my midwife right away, like, either I just see my pants or my waters just broke. And she's like, oh, hey girl, that's awesome. So, but then beyond that, nothing happened. So nothing progressed. There was no other signs. You know, I told my partner, and he was all excited, like, okay, I'm gonna go like prepare, like wash down the bath and get everything ready. And then I'm like, well, and he's like, I'm gonna tell everyone. I'll tell the family and tell everyone. And I was like, don't tell anyone, because then it gives that extra pressure, and puts that expectation, and everybody knows, and then there's this pressure to like progress. In reality, my body knows when it's gonna progress, right? And so he ended up telling people that night, and it was a difficult situation because my body wasn't ready. Okay, for some reason, my waters ruptured and my body wasn't ready to birth. So there's various reasons why that could happen, but whatever happened, it's for some reason they ruptured. Okay, so saying that, there was, this may be a little bit too information. There was no smell. It was clear. It was totally healthy. Okay, so nothing was. There was no red flags. So waters ruptured, nothing happened. I was able to sleep that night relatively well. There was I was getting Braxton Hicks practice contractions, but nothing to worry about or to think too much about. And then the next morning, again, Braxton Hicks, and I was like, okay, well, excited, potentially going to meet the baby. So Macaulay was born at 7:37 in the morning, and Sequoia was born at 3:37 in the morning. So, I had this idea that this baby was going to be born at the morning as well. So that's at the morning or in the night. So during the day, I didn't really have this idea of the birth was going to happen during the day. Anyway, another day goes by. So that's Monday gone. Monday night, I'm sleeping relatively well. Nothing's happening. Tuesday morning, I'm like, okay, was it Tuesday morning? Yeah, I think it was. So Tuesday, we decided to get serious. We're like, okay, this is we're getting, traditionally, you guys, if your waters are broken for a certain amount of time, 72 hours, you need to take, there would be some actions being taken in a medical setting, okay? So, but you do need to take some precautions. So as soon as my waters were broken, and then that 12 hours passed, my midwife brought me an antiseptic solution to just rinse with every time I went to the washroom. Just keeping super, super clean, using fresh sanitary pads, every actual store-bought plastic or normal ones that you buy from the store. Normally I wear reusable ones, but because I was taking those precautions, I was using the store-bought ones and just keeping it super, super, super clean. Okay, so that was a big deal, and it's no joke when your waters are broken, because that's what's protecting your baby. And if bacteria gets up in there, not a good time. So anyway, super precautionary. And then Tuesday, I think it was, we decided to get serious. We're getting serious. We took what's it called, the rebozo. We did if you've never done that, it's basically where your head is down and your bum is up and you're on your knees, and the midwife puts a long blanket over your belly type thing, and she's above you doing this sort of thing, and it's kind of meant to shimmy the baby's head out of the pelvis, because we were thinking okay, maybe she's not engaged properly, maybe her head's a little something like this or whatever. So we did the rebozo and tried to slide the head out of the pelvis a little bit, and then kind of so it's 30 minutes of the rebozo band, or the rebozo band is called a Miles circuit. And so we do 30 minutes of that, kind of adjusting, trying to shimmy the baby's head out. And then you do 30 minutes of side lying, where you're on your left side and your right knee is hiked really high, and you're kind of trying to shift the baby's positioning. And you do 30 minutes of squats or lunges or stair walking. And so I did the stair walking Tuesday night. And so after that, things started to progress. I'm just trying to think if it was Tuesday night or Wednesday night. Anyway, doesn't really matter. Things started to progress. That whatever night that was, I was trying to sleep, but the tightenings were more regular. So, and they were waking me up, which was good, and it was really exciting. So, I think the rebozo really did help to reposition the baby. Okay, along with that, I was also using a blend called Clary Calm. I love this blend. It's got clary sage in it. So when they were talking about pure oils, when it's pure oils, I only recommend doTERRA, to be honest. You can use safely, you can use any essential oils that doTERRA creates, except for anything that contains clary sage. Okay, so that's just for doTERRA oils. Okay, I'm not advocating for anything other than doTERRA. So I was using the Clary Calm roller. What other oils I was using? What was I using? Copaiba, Adaptive, just to kind of stay grounded and centered, things like that. We were also trying homeopathy, which I think is really interesting, but I've never fully had much experience with homeopathy. So I didn't personally, maybe there's that level of belief in it or whatever it is. I don't fully resonate with it as much as I do with the oils, right? And so we started using them, and we were using them together with the oils, and then we started to ask okay, are they canceling each other out? Like, what's going on? Should we just stick to one of them or the other? And so I chose the oils because I know that these oils work. I've had personal experience with them multiple times. I've helped many, hundreds of people have experiences with these oils. So I was like, I choose the oils. I'm sure homeopathy works for some people, and maybe it would work for me, but I want to stick to what I know. And so we were trying different remedies with the homeopathy as well. But in the end, I was like, let's just flow with the oils. Okay. So anyway, that night we had some good tightenings going on. It was awesome. And then we come to the next day, and they're still kind of happening, just not anything rhythmic. Okay. And I started to get frustrated. It was actually that night when I said, after we did the rebozo, that I started to have a little bit of a breakdown, because I was like, this is not we have the external pressure of family, because we had told family that, water's ruptured, and they're all freaking out because, they're like, it's very dangerous to have your waters ruptured at blah, blah, blah. And it is dangerous, but they didn't know the precautionary measures that we were taking, right? They didn't know the support that we also had. So there's that. Don't tell anyone you're in labor until you're actually going to give birth. And so then so that night I had a little bit of not a freak out, but a little bit of a freak out, where I was like, okay, body, we need to get serious here. Baby's coming out, what's holding me back? What am I afraid of? Because I had never had a home birth before. I kind of sat there and kind of did some journaling on it. Am I afraid? Is there something here? Why am I not progressing? Why is this not progressing? And so I think dumping all of that out of my system too, and really getting clear on I'm going to give birth to my baby right here. And there's nothing to be afraid of, because my body knows what it's meant to do. I'm fully supported. I didn't mention, but my midwife, we have a guest house on our property. My midwife actually came for the second night. She came to stay at the guest house. So she was here. I was like, we're fully supported. We have everything we need right here. We don't need any external help. What's holding me back? So I think that was a good breakthrough as well. So that night, the tightenings began to strengthen. And then in the morning, I was like, okay, we're going for a walk. We're going for a hike. We're going into town, get some groceries and all these things. We're staying active. And so this is something that, in my perspective, is a good thing to do, is to stay active and keep moving. But something I failed to do is rest. And so any of you who have given birth before, you know how important it is to rest your body when you can, because you've got a mountain to climb ahead of you, kind of thing. You've got some work to do coming up. So it's really important to rest, and that's something that I should have done more. Is that day, yes, move your body, do the things, but take a nap, take a nap. eat a ton, eat as much as you can, as much as you feel called to, nourish your body with really good stuff, and take a nap, take a rest. And I didn't do that. So that day we went for a little hike. It was quite nice, and you know, the tightenings were there, but nothing too much. We went to the grocery store, and and that's where I was like, okay, I need to get me a cart so I can lean over. And so that was they started to get a little bit intense because the grocery store was on the way back home after the hike and after a day in town kind of thing. It was the afternoon. And so the tightening started to get a little bit more intense, which was really exciting. We went home, we made dinner together, the midwife came over for dinner, and we talked about, okay, tonight's the night, baby's gonna come tonight. And so as soon as, you know, I did the bath time routine, bedtime routine for my 2 older kids, put them to bed, and was like, okay. And every morning they had been waking up like, is baby here yet? Baby, what are you gonna do? Well, when are you coming out? So there's that pressure as well. But I was like, okay, baby's gonna come out in the morning. Baby's gonna be here in the morning, say goodnight. And then as soon as I put the kids to bed, things started to pick up. And so I was on my ball, I was sitting right over there, and just kind of riding the waves with my headphones in. We have a pool. I was walking around the pool, doing some laps with the headphones in. It was a full moon, and it's really funny because the one ultrasound I did have with Azalea, I had a private doctor here that works with my midwife, and he's a home birth doctor. He did the ultrasound at 30. I mean, I think it was around 37 or 36 weeks. I can't remember fully. I don't know, around there. Maybe it was 34. And yeah, I think it might have been around 34. But he's like, baby's gonna come on the full moon. He's like, there's a full moon in December, and he's like, it's around this date, or he's on this date, and he's like, but he predicted the full moon in January, and it's funny because he was right. So it was under the full moon, just, you know, riding the waves as it goes. And then things started to pick up. I was back in the room, and we were just hanging out. Like, Andy was here, we had music on, we had the diffuser on, oils on, just kind of just riding the waves. Okay, so then things started to get a little bit difficult when I started to get tired. So again, I said rest as much as you can. This is a big deal. So I mean, it was probably about midnight where things started to get a little bit intense, and my started to dilate around 11:30. Like, you know, my midwife was at her house, the little guest house just over here, and yeah, I started to dilate around 11:30, so she came over around that time, and then things started to get a little bit intense because, as you know, that transition phase is when you need someone there. In my experience, my perspective, that's when I love someone there to say, you got this. Your body knows what to do. Like, you are doing amazing. Keep going. You got this, baby's almost here. Like, those sort of things, right? And with transition, that's an intense time. So actually, it was around that time where, who knows, maybe it was, you know, it was 12 where things started to get a little bit more intense, right? And so I needed more help with, you know, compression on the pelvis, and like Andy and my midwife had some hot packs and had some more deep blue on my back and things like that, and a lot of pressure on my back because I think she was engaged a little bit, not in the ideal situation because there was quite a bit of back labor going on. So I had a lot of like pressure on my back. So anyway, progress, and then it was around like 2 where I was like probably around like 1 actually, where I was like falling asleep in between tightenings, and that was really, really difficult because I was like, I just want to sleep, right? I just want to go to sleep. I can't do this anymore, right? I'm just so tired because it's a long day for anyone out hiking and all in town all the day, and then to just go straight into like some work that really calls on all your attention and all your energy, right? So anyway, it was around that time where that transition phase came, probably around 2-ish or 2:30, and I was like, I don't know what else to do. I was like, in between tightenings, I was like, I don't know what else to do. It's like, it's not working. It's not coming. But I think like that's when you know you're in transition, when things when you start to say things like that, when you're like, no, like, I don't know what else to do. And so, you know, my midwife, my partner were offering different, like, they're like, what if you just like put your body in this shape or try in this way or whatever, and do you want to get in the bath and things like that? And I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know if I can do this anymore. So anyway, I was in the bathroom and I was like leaning on the counter, and I was like, this is like, let's get serious here. Again, you have that like heart to heart with yourself, like, okay, enough BS, enough screwing around, like, let's get down to business. We got things to do here. So I'm standing in the bathroom and I'm like, all right, this is happening now. Okay. And so as soon as I had that heart to heart with myself again, it's like, check yourself, right? Check your head, check your energy and where your focus is, right? So anyway, I had that heart to heart with myself and was like, we're doing this now. It's yes or yes. Okay, there's no plan B. We're not transferring to a hospital. We're not, because they're like, no one can come with me. I don't speak the language. Like, just going over my plan, right? And I was like, this is happening now. I'm fully supported. Da 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 da. And so as soon as I did that, she actually engaged and was coming down the birth canal. And so I was like three, as much as I can remember, like three urges to push, and she was out. So she was born in the bathroom. I would have, if I could rewind time, and when my midwife said, do you want to get in the bath? I would have said yes. I should have said yes. Why didn't I say yes? I don't know. But that would have been my ideal, is to turn on the bath and have her in there. And she, you know, we were in that, birth is really interesting for me. In between tightenings, I'm like fully here and fully aware and fully conversational. And so in between, as she was coming out, like, you know, her head's right there, and I'm like, Annie, do you want to catch her? Do you want me to catch her? Like, what's going on? What should we do? And then in the end, it was me and the midwife, and she came out perfectly healthy. She was about 7.5 pounds. She was about 58 centimeters in length, I think, but she was born at the same time as Sequoia. So I've got Macaulay at 7:37 a.m., Sequoia at 3:37 a.m., and Azalea at 3:37 a.m. So kind of crazy. On the 28th of January, 2021, at home, right over there. Okay. So, I mean, I hope that's helpful. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to share. We had, so just to kind of wrap up Azalea's birth, from the bathroom, we just got right into bed, and we were resting. She was feeding almost right away, just like, you know, a minute after she was born. Placenta took a little bit longer to be born, and it was actually like, okay, so my partner, as you might not know, is a Tico, so he's Costa Rican, and here in Costa Rica, home birth is not a thing. Like, it's not really a thing. Locals don't, like, there's a heavy influence of the medical industry, I want to say. Like, there is, like, when you are pregnant and you're gonna give birth, it's just what you do. You just go to the hospital, right? And you do the testing and you do the things, right? So there's that. And so with Andy, my partner, it was a really huge learning experience the whole entire pregnancy, I feel like. And so especially the birth, when it came to, you know, we're birthing at home and talking to his family about it, it was an interesting learning experience. And all of them are like, holy cow, you're some sort of like, you're so strong, and what do you mean you birthed at home, and all these things, right? All these questions. But I think it's really cool to be able to be a light and be able to be someone who shows someone else what's possible, right? So I hope that my stories have helped you in some way, shape, or form. I hope that you know, I don't ever intend them to be like a comparison. I really do not like comparison. I know that no birth is, you know, maybe not perfect or ideal, or, you know, even if you have to transfer, or you have to have a cesarean, and or your birth plan is just totally, goes out the window, that's okay. Okay, the most important part is that you are safe, you are healthy, your baby is safe and healthy. Okay, so we can do everything we can to hopefully, prepare ourselves, our bodies and our mind for our ideal birth. We can work with midwives, we can work with doulas, and we can prepare ourselves, we can educate ourselves in those degrees. But at the end of the day, if something goes off planned, that's okay. Okay, so my intention with this by sharing these 3 birth experiences with you is to hopefully just inspire you to educate yourself and to believe in yourself and your body a little bit more. Okay, so that's the basics that I wanted to share. If you have any questions or you want to connect with us on social media, I Instagram over at our.supernatural.adventures, and I shared my birth story. I share our experiences, and just, I'm kind of like by default homeschooling mom slash small business owner, essential oil lover, natural health, everything. I actually have a 4-part masterclass series that I'm planning right now surrounding pregnancy, birth, postpartum, babies, toddlers, and little kids, and just hopefully showing more families and moms about these tools that I was so determined to find when I was pregnant with Macaulay, but didn't end up finding him until he was almost 1. So like I mentioned in the beginning, this is something I really love doing, is sharing about these essential oils. So if you're interested in taking a look at the masterclass, it's totally free. It's a 4-part masterclass. I'm going to have a bonus one as well. The registration link could be in the comments here, depending where you're watching this video. On my YouTube channel, it'll be in the comments. But otherwise, you can go to, just type in your browser, bit.ly, bit.ly/supernatural with a capital S, birth with a capital B, one word, okay? And that will take you to a Flowdesk form to kind of drop your email and name, and then I will send over the series to you, okay? So if you're interested in learning about essential oils and how they can support motherhood in general, I definitely would suggest checking out that masterclass. Okay, so I hope that helps you wherever you are in the world. I'd love to connect through social media, so come find me on Instagram. Have an awesome day, and if you are expecting personally, I wish you all the best luck. Trust in your body. Your body knows what it's meant to do. Okay, so have an awesome day, and we'll see you again soon.